I'm Janelle Slade. Well, although things won't look normal for quite some time, educators across the state are trying. University of Montana officials say they are confident in-person instruction will be back in the fall and possibly even this summer. President Seth Bodner says summer classes will begin remotely, but hopes they can transition students back into the building during the semester. He says the coronavirus pandemic has brought new opportunities for recruiting. The school is reaching out to high school graduates who had planned to attend going out of state, but now may be concerned about leaving Montana.
We're fortunate here in the state of Montana. I think this state took good, strong, aggressive actions. We've stemmed the spread of this virus. It's still a threat, and we have to take it seriously. But I think we can and we will be adapting the ways in which we operate, the class sizes that we have, the ways that we enable physical distancing, the ways that we treat residence halls. We're adapting how we operate, but all with the goal of still being able to provide that high quality in-person instruction for the fall.
Bodner also praised his staff for how they've handled moving classes online mid-semester. Well, as high schools across the state grapple with graduation plans amid COVID-19, in Billings, Metro Park is back in play to hold graduation ceremonies. Superintendent Greg Upham says he will work with a disease control specialist to try to come up with a plan to hold the event safely. Later this week, a group will look at how to space students, how many guests can be allowed in, and screening options. Upham suggested splitting the classes in half and holding ceremonies on 2 separate days. Additionally, the superintendent says they will need a plan to disinfect the arena after each ceremony. May 23rd and 24th are preferred dates for those graduations. Well, larger school districts across Montana are not the only ones having to decide whether to continue remote learning. 2 of Lewis and Clark County's smallest school districts have also decided to not return to in-person classes this school year. Canyon Creek and Wolf Creek school boards have both voted last week to extend remote learning through the end of the school year. The superintendent who oversees both districts says they have only a few staff members each, and it would be very difficult to make it all the needed changes. Plus, many families say they are not yet ready to send their students back to class. Well, the Helena, Lincoln, and Augusta school districts have also voted to continue remote learning. East Helena is set to make its decision tonight. While business and bars have reopened their doors, city businesses have kept theirs closed. City buses, rather, have kept theirs closed in Great Falls. Great Falls bus service closed indefinitely when public gatherings were forced to stop. Great Falls transit buses hold anywhere from 35 to 57 people, which far exceeds the governor's 10-person group limit. While buses are out of commission, Great Falls Transit has been busy gathering personal protection equipment, cleaning buses, and prepping for the time when public transportation can resume. As communities work through this forever changed world, confirmed COVID-19 cases continue to ebb and flow. This afternoon, health authorities report 30 active cases statewide. There are no new confirmed cases. In fact, Montana's confirmed total drops by 1. State health authorities say they have determined that a case thought from Fergus County has not been a Montana resident for nearly a year and does not pose a known risk. In Wyoming, numbers are climbing close to Montana's total cases. 9 new reported cases grew the state's total to 444 yesterday. 405 of those are recovered cases. Wyoming has the least deaths in the nation at 7. A new COVID-19 antibody test is now approved by the FDA. It can tell if people have been infected with the virus and recovered from it. The FDA, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and National Institute of Health evaluated the effectiveness of the tests. Other tests are currently available, but public health officials say they are not accurate. Many experts believe accurate antibody testing is key to fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. And with that good news, we turn to Ed McIntosh in the Weather Center with more good news, right?
That's right. Yeah. We're going to go from antibodies to heavenly bodies.
Nice.
We've got a meteor shower that you could be watching this evening, at least in portions of the region. Just have a lot of patience. Now, it's really the prime time was last night, but it looks like there could still be a lot visible tonight. The moonlight's going to cause some problems, but you don't need anything special, just patience. Go out and settle in, look to the dark part of the sky. The bad news is the really best time to look is going to be in the pre-dawn hours, so you really got to wait till the overnight hours. And also for central and western Montana, we're going to start to see the cloud cover increase from around Helena towards the west. We're going to talk about the effect that'll have on tomorrow's weather in a few minutes.
All right, thanks so much, Ed. And the outlook for the fire season in Montana is good. Experts say snowpack remains above average and a slow melt-off will keep moisture in the mountains and forests. However, the summer is expected to be hot and dry. Those temperatures can change things quickly, and millions of dead trees left over from a devastating 2017 fire season is easy fuel for forest fires. Experts say even with a good outlook, Montanans should remain vigilant and create defensible space around their homes. A Helena man is accused of soliciting sex from an undercover cop posing as a 14-year-old boy. 24-year-old Jackson McGinnis is charged with 2 counts of felony sexual abuse of children. Court documents state McGinnis contacted the officer on social media asking to meet up at a Helena motel. He's scheduled to enter a plea in district court on June 4th. In Bozeman, 4 criminals are arrested for breaking into cars, ending a crime spree that began in Florida. The men were taken into custody after police say they broke into multiple unoccupied vehicles at various trailheads and local parks. Now, police say the men had been committing similar crimes all across the country and had booked an Airbnb to continue that spree in Billings. The men face several felony charges. Their bonds have been set at $500,000. Construction of the new Kent Plaza, located in Midtown Missoula, is set to be completed over the next few months, and several businesses have already committed to move in by the end of summer. The finished product will have space for up to 10 tenants. Right now, Zootown Laundry is going in, along with a brewery called Odd Pitch. Gyms and salons are included in that list of those with serious interest. In Missoula, the split design of the building will allow for more parking in the interior between the buildings, as well as the alley behind the development. Well, Missoula Nissan Hyundai is offering free oil changes for all first responders this week. All medical staff and law enforcement are encouraged to make an appointment to bring their vehicles in. The general manager says he and his team have been looking for ways to help those who are and have been on the COVID-19 front lines over this last several weeks. He says providing this service allows his crew to help others. Well, we have more news ahead on your noon news, including a story about a Montana man who took an incredible challenge to benefit healthcare workers by tracking nearly 500 miles. The time now is 12:07, but first, Ed McIntosh is in with your statewide weather forecast.
Now, here's your Storm Tracker weather forecast with meteorologist Ed McIntosh.
Welcome back to the noon news. We mainly have the 50s on the map here as of midday. That's starting off with readings as cold as, again, Butte into the mid-20s. We saw readings into the low 30s across southern Montana. Frost areas, freezing areas took a toll on some of the vegetable gardens and the gardening plants. But as we take a look, we've got temperatures into the 50s across northeastern Montana, and this is the most active weather right now. Some 60s around Livingston, Cody, down towards Worland and Wyoming. This cloud cover in the showers moving in is also creating some wind across the eastern plains. We kind of figured this was going to come together as that upper low continues to dig into northeastern Montana. But through the afternoon, we'll see periods of wind concentrate more and more on southeastern Montana. That's going to be the short-term outlook, and you can see that with the blue arrows here indicating where the winds are swirling around that low pressure area up around the Fort Peck area. So through the afternoon, we're also going to be looking at a few showers continuing to move off, and this could cause an isolated thunderstorm to develop as well. We see those little blue flickers. That's some lightning strikes here in extreme eastern Montana. But for the west, we have a high pressure area that's building in, and that means warmer and drier conditions. Today, fairly quiet in central and western Montana, and that ridge will continue to slide over into the Rocky Mountain west tonight heading into tomorrow. Now, we showed you that increasing cloud cover by early in the day, but by tomorrow afternoon and evening, we really start to amp up the chance of rain showers, some thunderstorm activity. You see the blue shaded areas. We could see some mountain snow start to develop out of this, and it's definitely going to bring in some colder air and some wind here as this front continues to move through. When we get to central and eastern Montana, it's going to be the warmest day of the week. The highs will move up into the 60s to low 70s, but as we get into the evening hours, that low digs across the region, slinging around some of that moisture and some of that wind all the way through Thursday. So Thursday is going to be a cool and rather unsettled day. Periods of wind could be the biggest highlight overall, although that potential for showers hangs in there as we start getting through the day on Thursday as it wraps around that low pressure area. Cool temperatures, we're talking about mainly 50s for the daytime highs. Here's how it looks for today. Mainly 60s across much of the region. For this afternoon, we're looking at quieter weather in central and western Montana with that low digging across eastern Montana. Periods of wind will continue to influence the weather in southeastern Montana through the afternoon. That starts to fade out as the sun gets lower in the sky. We wake up to temperatures mainly in the 30s tomorrow. Pretty typical to where we have been with some of these 20s mixed in around West Yellowstone. Butte, you might not be quite as cold because we'll see the cloud cover start to increase, but the sunshine across the eastern plains tomorrow will help warm things up 60s to low 70s. Here comes the more active weather starting to move into western Montana. And the blue arrows also indicating where we're going to see some of those stronger winds. And the winds could be pretty widespread tomorrow in central and western Montana as that initial system starts to move in and then creates this band of rain and snow and potential for thunderstorms with gusty winds as we start getting into tomorrow evening. Western Montana, you'll start to feel the influence of that weather system tonight heading into tomorrow with widespread rain showers, higher elevation snow lingering into Thursday, at least for the morning. Great Falls and Helena, you'll see the downshift in the temperatures really on Thursday with more widespread showers, but some of that activity moves in tomorrow. Butte and Bozeman, cooler as we get into tomorrow afternoon, and Glendive and Billings, warm tomorrow, cooler Thursday. There's the weather. Back to you, Janelle.
All right, thanks so much, Ed. Well, over the last few months, we have seen many examples of individuals going above and beyond to show support for those on the front lines of the coronavirus. Well, this next man is a perfect example, walking nearly 500 miles to help healthcare workers. MTN's Nick Petriccioni has the story.
If you just continue to take another step and another step, you can go a lot further than you ever thought was possible.
Bozeman resident Jussup Sandoval decided to embark on an incredible journey in April to benefit healthcare workers during the COVID-19 pandemic. He joined the Calendar Club, a challenge where you run the amount of miles on the corresponding day of the month. April 1st, 1 mile. April 15th, 15 miles, and so on. And he's doing it with no training.
The furthest I'd ever ran in one solid chunk was 5 miles previous to this, so this has been a lot.
Every day you complete, a meal gets donated to healthcare workers on the front lines. But Sandoval is also doing this to prove something to himself.
6 years ago, I was hit by a snowmobile, and I was in a wheelchair and couldn't walk, and it was literally in April, and so I kind of saw this challenge, and I was like, this is going to be something that kind of helps me rewrite my story.
And the one thing that I continue to tell myself is it doesn't get easier, I only get better.
By the end of April, Jussup completed the challenge, and he walked 473.3 miles. That's the equivalent of running nearly 1,900 laps on this track. But the bigger cause was to support those sacrificing so much.
This is a great way to contribute when you don't know how to contribute. I think it's just important that we're helping each other and also showing these guys that like their hard work is worth everything.
In Bozeman, Nick Petriccioni, MTN Sports.
Very cool. Thanks so much, Nick. Well, up next, Elaine Nordland is in with your Ag News, so stick around. We'll be right back.
Here's your Farm and Ranch Report from the Montana Ag Network.
Welcome back for today's Farm and Ranch News. In the headlines today, the Small Business Administration's Economic Injury Disaster Loan, or EIDL portal, has been closed since April 15th. However, the agency reopened the portal in a limited capacity this week to agricultural enterprises only. Heather Malcolm with Bank of the Rockies is the chairwoman of the American Bankers Association's Ag and Rural Bankers Committee. She gave more insight on the program.
Our ag businesses who are involved in the production of food, fiber, ranching, raising of all livestock, other farming and agriculture-related industries, and businesses that have fewer than 500 employees can go ahead and apply for those EIDL monies. The portal is open, and so we're really happy that SBA opened that specifically for ag producers as of Monday.
Unlike other SBA programs, the EIDL money can be used to pay debt, payroll, and accounts payable and other bills.
There's a grant portion of this loan which is dependent upon how many employees you have, and then there is a loan portion to this. So it will depend upon how you submit your application, how much you could qualify either under the grant or under the loan program.
The EIDL grant starts at $1,000 per employee and has a cap of $10,000, while the loan has a maximum of $2 million with an interest rate of 3.75%. The only way to apply for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan is online. You can do that from the comfort of your own home.
So with the EIDL loan, it's directly through the Small Business Administration, so you don't have to go through a bank. It's an online application, and it is fairly simple to go ahead and apply for that money.
The EIDL program is not the Paycheck Protection Program. Malcolm said there's still PPP funds available, but you must work with a bank to apply. In addition, USDA continues to sit on $16 billion in relief funds for farmers and ranchers. No one is quite sure when USDA will roll out the specific details for the program or when enrollment will open. We'll be right back. Back today, we looked at USDA's crop progress update for Montana, and just last week, the planting of sugar beets progressed well with an estimated 40% of the crop planted compared to 10% the previous week, but still behind the previous year level of 44%. Spring wheat planted was reported at 33% complete, which is ahead of the previous year at 29%, but behind the 5-year pace of 44%. Winter wheat was reported at 97% of the crop breaking dormancy. That's slightly ahead of the previous year at 95%, while winter wheat conditions were rated as 61% good to excellent compared to 81% this time last year. And finally today, a bipartisan group of U.S. representatives is urging USDA provide findings of its beef pricing investigation as soon as possible. Following the announcement of USDA's Packers and Stockyard Division investigation in August of 2019, Secretary Perdue extended USDA's investigation last month to determine the causes of divergence between live cattle and boxed beef prices during the COVID-19 pandemic. Beginning in the first few weeks of the coronavirus crisis, cattlemen saw prices drastically decline, with cattle futures falling 29% between January and April, while beef prices increased in stores. The lawmakers say producers want effective market-based risk management tools. However, volatility during the pandemic has made market participation difficult to manage and capital intensive. A very serious situation we'll continue to cover here on The Report. That's today's Farm and Ranch News.
All right, thanks, Lane. Well, C-130 aircraft from the Montana Air National Guard will perform flyovers of more than 20 cities and towns tomorrow to salute essential workers in the fight against COVID-19. Now, that event begins in Great Falls around 10:15 a.m., where 2 C-130s will fly over Benefice Healthcare. The aircraft will then take separate paths, one through the eastern half of the state, the other through the western half. Air National Guard officials say the flyovers are part of the Air Force Salutes program, which has held similar events throughout the nation. Now, here's just a couple of times. 12:50 p.m. in Billings, that's when that's scheduled for that flyover. Shelby's flyover is expected around 11 a.m. and Helena's flyover around 12:55 p.m. Ed McIntosh, is the weather going to cooperate?
Not entirely.
Okay.
It depends. The eastern portion of the flight, they've got the better end of the deal for tomorrow. We're going to show you the rest of today, mainly the 60s for the highs, periods of wind off into the eastern plains. Tomorrow, things get a lot more unsettled in central and western Montana as the next weather system moves in, and that'll bring showers, gusty winds, some higher elevation snow. But the eastern plains of Montana will continue to see warmer temperatures tomorrow, plenty of sun, and then we start getting hit with those showers by Thursday.
All right, thanks, Ed. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.